Hello everybody, and today I wanted to tackle something that has been increasingly popular of recent times, and that is the topic of rent vesting. So before we begin, what exactly is rent vesting? Well, this concept basically means that we rent a property where we want to live and invest where we can afford to invest. And it's that key topic of affordability that has really seen the rise in the popularity of rent vesting today. Basically, inexpensive markets such as Sydney, people are struggling to be able to afford to enter the property market. But on the flip side, they need to be within reasonable proximity of their place of work, and therefore they don't have the choice to relocate into the areas where the house price is more affordable. So enter rent vesting. From my own personal experience as a rent investor, there's a couple of other reasons that I chose to adopt this strategy. And I wanted to share a couple of these reasons with you today, as well as a few stories from some clients that we've recently spoke to. Now, firstly, there are many reasons I choose to live where I do, and all of these reasons are completely personal to me. And only one of these reasons is proximity to the office. But none of the reasons that I've chose to live where I do have anything to do with investment. And nothing to do with the considerations of what areas in the current market would lead me to purchasing those areas because I believe that they were a good investment. Now, let me give you an example from one of my client situations to try and show you exactly what I'm talking about here. He's originally from France and wants to move to a specific suburb in Sydney. And the reason that he wants to move to this suburb is that it's within the school catchment zone for a bilingual school speaking both English and French, and that's where he wants his kids to go. Now, the question I asked him is, does this school catchment zone, that is extremely relevant to you, of course, make this suburb a good investment? And the answer, of course, was not necessarily. So I'm sure you can imagine there's a whole multitude of factors that go into determining if purchasing within a particular suburb at a particular time is a good investment. But the point that he understood that after chatting with me was that it's very, very easy to trick ourselves into thinking that just because we personally want to live somewhere, it doesn't necessarily make it a good investment choice. Another way to think about it is that where we want to live comes from our heart, and where we choose to invest comes from our head. And we really need to make the effort not to get the two of them confused. Now, the second reason I discussed with this client was that even though he could afford to purchase in the area he was looking at, which was a rather prestigious and expensive suburb, it still might not be the wisest thing to do financially. And what I meant was, as you start to move up in the value of properties that you want to live in, if you were to think about it from an investment perspective, they start to become cheaper and cheaper to rent. Now, I know this is a difficult topic to grasp, so let's try and break it down. Let's say you wanted to live in a place that was valued at $2 million, and you had the capacity to service a loan on this property. If you were to purchase this property as an investment, you would likely be able to get something like a 2 to 3% yield or rental return. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, on average, the more expensive the property, the lower yield you'll be able to get. But on the other hand, if you took your $2 million, you could effectively purchase 3 smaller rental properties, giving you around about a 5% yield. And also, you could spread these investments across different markets, allowing you to have some diversification and still have some cash flow left over to be able to pay the rent that you need to pay to live in the property that you want to live in. So basically, what I'm saying here is, from my perspective, I would rather pay someone a 2 to 3% yield and earn 4 to 5% yield. Doesn't this make sense? Now, the final reason that I covered with my client was the taxation implications of investing versus purchasing a principal place of residence. Now, time for a disclaimer. I'm not an accountant, and this information I'm trying to give for you is for educational purposes only, and you should seek professional advice prior to making any decisions. Now, my client's concern was that if he purchased the house that he wanted to live in within the school catchment zone, he was not going to have to pay any capital gains tax. Whereas if he purchased any investment properties, he would have to pay capital gains tax when and if he sold. Whilst he was 100% right in this concern, what he didn't consider was that he would have to service his mortgage on his house he wanted to buy in post-tax dollars. This basically means he pays tax on the income that he earns from his job and then uses what's left over to pay for his mortgage. And this differed from investing in properties as he would effectively service his loans before tax and then only pay tax on what was left over. Essentially, he understood that his choices were to pay tax now, i.e. no negative gearing, and get some tax concessions later, i.e. no capital gains tax on a principal place of residence, or he could get his tax concessions now and defer the tax bill to later with his investment properties, making them easier to service and hold. Now, am I saying that there's no place to buy a house for you to live in? Of course not. But I'm simply trying to impress upon you that you need to be clear in why you're doing what you're doing and what the implications are. Essentially, when taking a look at the debate between rent vesting and purchasing a principal place of residence, I'm trying to give you as much information as possible to go in and make a decision with your eyes wide open.
So if you're looking for more, visit us at buildapropertyportfolio.net for free tips and strategies that are going to further your education in the property investment space. To get access to our free property market updates that are prepared by our in-house research team. You can get a strategy guide on building a multi-property portfolio. However, all of this information is generic in nature and is not designed to cater towards your specific circumstances. For us to do that, we need to engage you in a free 2-hour property portfolio planning session where we'll introduce our systems, strategies and services for building a property portfolio. We'll give you an overview of the Australian property market. We'll conduct a portfolio analysis of your current situation using our proprietary software. We'll establish a customized strategic plan to help you build a diversified property portfolio over time, and we'll answer any questions you might have on property investment. To book your session, visit us at buildapropertyportfolio.net.